Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we're looking at an MS260. This is not currently starting, and we're going to examine the carburetor. First thing we need to do, we need to remove the filter cover, and then flip over and remove the small tiny screw in here to let us access the throttle rod. Once we remove this small screw, we can pop a sub back in its natural position and remove the top of the trigger assembly. This lets us into the throttle shaft, which is here. So now we need to remove the air filter with these two screws. Removing the air filter like so, we're going to now need to remove these two 8mm nuts in here. This will let us take the carburetor off after we take the throttle shaft from the throttle trigger. So we're going to remove these two 8mm nuts. Got the two 8mm nuts removed now. We're going to inspect this fuel pipe here and remove that before we remove the carburetor. I've just removed the fuel pipe, and once I've got that fuel pipe removed, I can remove the carburetor. It just pulls straight towards us, and there we have the carburetor removed from an MS260. When we're here, we need to inspect the impulse hose, which is here, and this is the main fuel pipe going into the fuel tank. And we're just going to also inspect this ring and the manifold hose in there, that there's no obvious signs of damage or fuel hose leaking, etc. So we've got our impulse hose, which is coming from the bottom of the cylinder, our fuel hose, which is coming from the tank, and then we've got our manifold hose coming from the top of the cylinder. So we have the carburetor removed. I've just took the airline and blew off the excess dirt that was on the surface of the carburetor. Basically, we have a bottom side and a top side of the carburetor. I'm going to first remove this screw here from the bottom side of the carburetor. So I've just removed the bottom side from the carburetor, and I can see from this carburetor it's actually fairly clean in here. I'm going to inspect this gasket. We can see there's no dirt on the surface of this, and there's no rips and tears. The gasket's not swollen, and I'm quite happy with that. I will give this a wee blow with the airline, and I'm going to move on round to the far side of the carburetor. Moving on to the other side of the carburetor, we have 4 small screws here we need to remove in each corner. Just removed the cover from the carburetor, and I can see already we've got some dirt sitting on top of this meter and diaphragm. So what we're going to do now, we're going to carefully remove this meter and diaphragm and inspect for more dirt. Just removed our diaphragm. It looks good. It's nice and flexible. There's no rips or tears, no holes in it. We're going to now inspect the meter needle in the carburetor itself, which is here. That moves up and down to let the fuel in. We've also got this here, and I'm going to remove this and clean it out. I'm going to make sure that is crystal clear, because that's the main inflow for fuel. So we're just removing this small jet here. So this is a small jet removed. I'm going to shine that up to the light and make sure you can see clearly through that there's no debris or nothing in this small jet that would obstruct the fuel from being delivered to the saw. Fitted the jet back into the carburetor. The next thing I'm going to inspect is the height of this lever. This is quite important. This lever, sitting in its natural position, should be level with the body of the carburetor across this way. So when our diaphragm goes back on in its natural position, it's not pressing on the needle. That is the carburetor reassembled on both sides. I'm going to now fit the carburetor back on the saw. back in, taking care with my fuel pipe. The impulse hose sits in a natural position. The carburetor should push straight back onto it. I'm just going to refit my fuel pipe. After fitting my fuel pipe, I'm going to refit my throttle shaft back into my throttle trigger. Refitted my throttle trigger. I'm going to put on my throttle trigger cover. If you notice, there's a bit on this that keeps the throttle trigger in place. It just slips down into position. We need to put in our screw underneath the throttle to hold all that in position. Put our two 8mm nuts back on the carburetor. I've just blew off my air filter with compressed air. We refit that, push that on. Filter fitted. I'm going to fit the filter cover, slide straight down like so. And now we're ready for testing this MS260, manufactured 2010. It might have some minor adjustments to do in the carburetor, which will be around here. We've got a high screw and a low screw, and a taking over screw here, low screw here, and high screw here. So let's see how this goes. Let's see how successful we've been in cleaning this carburetor to get this saw up and running again. So back up and running, ready to return to the customer. If you've liked this video, please subscribe. Thank you very much.